Well, you're supposed to be running that.
Right. That's good.
Why are you here, may I ask?
You guys don't know, before they were taping it, we used to have huge arguments. One time I slammed the table and walked out. We just did all kinds of stuff.
You did that one time?
I only remember one time. I probably thought about it doing more often. I think it was about money.
That's usually what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty calm, cool, and collected most of the time.
Pardon?
You're pretty calm, cool, and collected most
Yeah,
of
that's
the
because
time.
there's cameras now.
To deter. Can't get it to record. I'm still.
I should hang around.
You should.
You're dreaming. Oh, that's just sound.
It's record buttons.
You know, I can't serve liquor. in the
Huh,
morning.
okay.
You can,
Probably a cassette recorder somewhere.
I can-
Recorded on your phone.
Shall I take notes?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no,
Actually,
somebody should. No, Janet's here, isn't she?
She's on.
Yeah, well, then she's-
Not on yet.
Must I invited the board of.
Huh.
Janet's not on. All right then.
I can't do that.
Better take some notes.
Okay, I'm gonna stick to mostly the motions.
It is 7:01 and I'm gonna call the meeting to order. We're having a few technical difficulties, so we may not record it, but Cynthia's prepared to take minutes. And such as that. So, first item on the agenda is public comments. So there's a fairly lengthy list of agenda items we've got to churn through.
There's Julie.
Janet just got on. Good. That's good. Anybody have any public comments not related to anything on the published agenda?
I do. Steve McClafferty. I wasn't here at your last meeting, but in my opinion, I think the items that were listed for the use of the ARPA funds are not what it was intended for ARPA to do. Going from the initial ARPA regulation of May of 21 to January of 22, to even up to September of this past year, there's only 4 categories that funds can be used for. The first is to respond to the public health emergency or its negative economic impacts, including assistance to households, small businesses, nonprofits. To respond to workers performing essential work during COVID-19, which if you gave them premium pay. For provision of government service to the extent that you had reductions in revenue that you could use it for. And finally, to make necessary investments in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure.
You emailed this to us, correct?
Yeah, but this, and it can't be used for pension funds, federal match, or offsetting net tax revenue. So at your last meeting, there was a list, and I went through from the article from the Bennington Banner. East Arlington fire hydrants. Yes, I think, in my opinion, that could be a good use of ARPA funds. Extraction tools for the fire department. Yep, there's a category in there for capital for infrastructure for emergency services, such as radios and other things. The wastewater study, of course, yes. However, golf course sprinkler system, no. And in fact, in 2 of the, in one of them, they specifically say it is not to be used for irrigation purposes. The Federal Register says irrigation, you say sprinkler, you say potato, I say potato. So that's 15,000. South Road Water System Compliance, yep, great. Firehouse Engineering Study. And as much as I love these guys who would go into those burning buildings to save my life, I would say no. East Arlington land purchase for, as a source, for wastewater, yep. An excavator, no. Again, this is from my opinion. There's no mention of the yellow barn from the Bennington Banner article, nor the expansion of the school wastewater system, which would be appropriate. The golf course sprinkler, on the back side of this, at the bottom, is the Treasury Department considered comments or questions for inclusion of additional irrigation infrastructure and determined that irrigation projects more generally are not permitted under the final rule. I gave you the citations of the federal registers. If you go to federalregister.gov and you can put in a specific date and you can print or read all 117 pages of the initial one and then the 100 plus of the final one. So with that money came some strings, in my opinion, despite what you are being told. These are the 4 categories you can spend money on. So please heed this advice that's in the Federal Register.
Well, as you can see, the town administrator is not here, and he was called out at the last minute, literally, family emergency, so
I'll leave
we
a copy.
will
This is
have to
very
dig into
useful, so
this.
thank you. We'll
Yeah,
look for
yeah.
under advisement.
Yeah, no, that one for Nick.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll put it.
So that's,
And I think it's
When
in
you
our
have
email
nothing-
packets as well. I
Yeah.
think this is in our emails.
when you have nothing to do at night, what do? You read the Federal Register. In fact, for me, because there's a lot of things in there like this for the Centers of Medicare and Medicaid Services, Veterans Administration, that will affect me and my job at the Veterans Home. So that's my first website I go to in the morning to see if something is in there.
Mhm.
Aside from that, my second comment is I've received a copy of the town report. I'm not going to go into budget items. I'll wait for that for town meeting night. That's not for here. But again, 158 lines with zeros, no headings, not even formatted. I spent 3 days and some of my hours at night doing something for Nick to format it, to make it look nice. There are embedded numbers and formulas, which gives a high preponderance of potential error in here. So again, Don, John, and myself said, we'll avail. I did things I'll be more than happy to format. But again, in my humble opinion, this was just another data dump as what we got last year. And, 2 years in a row, just in my opinion, if I did this at my job, I'd be out of work. Not to mention, there's some other comments in there which are, there's typos. So that's all I have to say for public comment. If you have any questions, now, later during the week, give me a holler, email me.
Okay.
So thank you very
Thank
kindly.
you for your input.
Yes.
Do any other public comments? Either in the room or on Zoom. If none, we will move to the next item of the agenda.
And Janet's here, so I'm not taking minutes. Is that
Correct.
okay?
Yep, I assumed that.
I just wanted to be sure.
Yep, no, I assumed that. You're off the hook. The next item is approved minutes of the previous meeting. I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting as presented.
Second. Motion is made by Cynthia and seconded by Glenn to approve the minutes of the last meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Under new business, we have a couple of liquor licenses on board. At least one. for the Arlington Commons.
I'm here for the comment if you want me to explain it or if there's anything. you-
What?
I'm from the comment.
No, I'm just looking at what's provided here. Okay, so, this is an application for a DLL for a limited event, a one-time occasion from the Arlington Common, just a few buildings away. The event will start May 3rd and end May 5th. I don't know what other information is here. That's all I see.
Is there a second?
I make a motion to approve it.
Motion is made by Cynthia and seconded by Todd to approve. Discussion. Would you like to just weigh in on? what-
Sure, yeah, so this is the third annual Bat and Kill Fly Fishing Festival. And Lawson's, the beer company, is gonna be the official, it's a festival license. They're gonna come and pour. All our pourers will be licensed. We'll have the area roped off, so in bracelets, according to all the laws that we have. We've done it the last 2 years, but we appreciate the town. It's a big fundraiser for both the river and for the county, so thank you.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any
It
opposed?
says just verbal approval.
Yeah,
so I
that's
don't
all we
know.
need on that is verbal approval. Okay. So that's out of the way. There's a grant agreement to be discussed for or signed, I guess, for hazard mitigation plan and the let's see if this is the right one. Bear with
Is that isn't that for BCRC doing that
Yeah,
work, or a staff member of BCRC doing that update for us? I seem to
I
remember
believe so,
Nick talking about that last time.
yeah, and there's. This one is all signed, but I'm not sure that's the right one.
Is this it?
It's actually 3 pages, it looks like that. Should be an award letter. Yeah.
There's an award letter.
There's a
from
award amount of
FEMA.
9,800. That's this has gotta be it. Okay. Award letter for 9,800, and then I've already signed it and initialed where it needs to be initialed. And then they send it back to the state for the proper paperwork trail. And there's attachments to this. Non-federal share is $3,287.50. That would be our match. Federal share is $98.62.50. The total would be 130 or 113, I'm sorry, in the total grant. But the awarded amount for federal monies was the 98.62.50.
Yep.
So I think everything is in order with this, so if there's a motion to approve, I will entertain it.
Okay, so the award amount to us is $9,862?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I make a motion to approve I can't even,
Hazard mitigation.
it's not what it says.
Yeah, it's
That's not what it says. I make a motion to approve the award from the Vermont Department of Public Safety under the federal program titled Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities 2022. The agreement with the town of Arlington 02140-31239-005B in the award amount of $9,862.50. Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Feel free to take a look at it if you want.
Right here.
Yeah, it's already, it only needs Dan's signature.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Cynthia and seconded by, Todd to approve the grant agreement with the state of Vermont for, agreement number 02140-31239-005B, the total amount of $9,862.50. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
What was it, hazard mitigation?
Plan,
Excuse me?
for the hazard mitigation plan. It's a planning. grant.
Okay, oh, plan, okay, I didn't know.
Planning grant,
Okay,
sorry.
thank you.
So, okay,
It's basically updating the existing
you're welcome to
plan.
look at it if you want.
No, I didn't hear the word plan.
Yeah.
I
It
just
says,
heard-
the objective is the town of Arlington will update its single jurisdictional local hazard mitigation plan. And we already have this, it's
Yeah.
about the rivers and all the other
Yep.
problems. And so it's a question of updating it.
Updating your plan,
Great.
yep. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is, a request from a citizen. There was a letter in your packets from Mr. Lang that, requested, we do something about the, turn on 313 just as you exit town, right, almost directly across from the road entrance by West Mountain Inn. And, we will respond to him. If you've read the package, there's a 3 or 4 page letter in there with some pictures and so forth. The basis of it is we can certainly make a request on his behalf as the town, and I suggest we do so. But he basically wanted the speed limit reduced dramatically there, and that is not our jurisdiction. 313 is a state highway all the way through town.
Where does the 35 start?
Just west of there,
Yes,
Todd
I
might
think-
know more precisely.
I think
but
it
it's
starts near Alex's house
yes.
Yes.
about,
Yes,
yeah,
very,
West of
very
it,
close.
yeah, but it usually takes people a while
It
to crank
steps down
down.
from 50 to 40 to 35.
35, but then people they don't always get down. And then they have that curve, which is a very dangerous curve, and we all know
The
that.
curve is
The
right
curve is
there.
very
and
dangerous.
His house sits directly on
Yep.
that curve on the north side
Yep.
of the street.
No, and I believe we have pulled that bank back. In the last 20
Some.
years, we shaved that bank back to try to make the sightlines a little bit better. But, so I would certainly agree to, asking state to take a look at it. I don't know if it would be a question of putting the speed signs up. I don't think we've ever had the speed signs right there coming from west to east, because that's where the problem is. And so it might not be a bad thing to ask the state if they could put the speed signs there. I don't know what you think.
I know that Nick has filed the permits, with the state requesting that we have the ability to put ours up there.
Okay,
It's $100 fee, I think it
Yeah,
was, but
it's a-
But he's already filed that permit.
and the
request
state
for
might
permission.
let us do that?
Yeah, they.
Okay.
they-
We had it there in the past, we had it going east
The
to
other way?
west,
I thought we had
Yeah,
it this
but-
further this
yes,
side on
correct.
313. Yeah,
further up. I
Yeah.
think we need to put it, further down.
Yep.
Near Mr. Keelan's house somewhere that we can find an appropriate location.
no, I don't think
maybe-
it should be there. I think it
maybe
should be,
Further around the corner.
I think
around
it should be
corner.
around the corner. I think it should be up beyond Mary's house. I think it should be about where the thing steps down. I
I believe
mean,
it has to be
or
what?
the
2
clouders.
poles past the speed limit sign, though, correct?
I'll have to read the permit, but
I think that's what Nick said, that when we moved it from one location
for
to
this,
another.
for the state police, we put it where we want to be, required.
Hey, you guys do whatever you want. but-
There is a buffer.
Well, then you
I
put it up.
believe there's supposed to be such a buffer from the speed limit sign to the,
Yeah,
Especially where speeds are changing one way or the other.
right.
And they're changing one direction going east and one another direction, they're stepping up going west.
But what we would be requesting is the state does an engineering study
Mhm.
and see if it's justifiable to reduce that.
well, I don't think, the sightline's not good. I don't think the road is properly banked there. because it's a really old road.
Mhm.
And I myself am personally aware of 2 accidents that have happened there.
Oh,
So,
sure.
you know, just in the past couple
There's
of years,
been
so.
many
Multiple.
cars in Mr. Keelan's field there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Should be charging parking, you know, it's like. All right, well, I think that's great. Do we need a
So. yeah,
motion or
I
sense of the
think
board
we're,
or? I think
just a
we're
sense of the
agreed.
board, I have no
We're agreed.
problem
Yeah.
making a request. Yes,
You know, if it's helpful to you, several years ago, we gave the state, an easement there. And maybe actually a deed, I forget, I have to look at the land record. To widen to bring the curve out, remember that, to bring it out, and if, if you need to come out even more, within reason. I don't wanna commit to theory, right?
Yeah, don't give away too much.
Well, you know what, they'll be over by my Christmas tree.
Yeah.
Well, we're willing to work with you because we understand the seriousness of this. The state police several years ago gave us a box of flares. For my wife and I to be out there because we're the first out there when there's
Right, when you hear
when
it,
there's an
yeah,
accident.
yeah,
And you're right,
Wow,
there's rollovers in the field.
Oh, yeah.
wow.
Right, so,
But see, it wouldn't be us. We can't do that. It would have to be,
But we're willing to
State,
work
you
with it.
know.
If it helps the town.
we can throw our weight behind a request,
yeah, yeah.
which is better than an individual doing it, but
But the other thing is, I think whenever you have a situation where the speed is coming down, I think it's hard for people, and this coincides with that turn. And we could make that turn wider and easier, and people are still gonna be going too fast, and still gonna go off the end of it, in my opinion. Because it's a question of, I don't know if we could start the step down sooner or have something that gets
they
people
would have to
attention
do
or
a
something.
study and make a determination. But it's out of our hands,
Yeah.
other than making.
Making the request, yeah.
There really is nothing that's within our.
Has
duty or
anybody been
our
killed?
Jurisdiction.
No,
There.
I mean, without running the numbers, and I lived here for 48 years.
I'm not aware of a
I
fatal
don't
accident.
remember
I
any
know we had
fatals.
fatal at the Warrenborough 313
Yeah.
East thing, but I'm not aware of a fatal accident
And I will
at that location.
It was probably 6 or 7 months ago. We had some other complaints from residents further east. I put a trooper in that location for a couple days during what we felt were key
Mhm.
commuting times.
Mhm.
The speeds during those times weren't astronomical. They did get some people speeding, but nothing.
Yeah,
And I think the fastest speed was 45 at that time.
right.
Because I asked them to record all the speeds for us as well. while they
And
were
was
there.
this going both ways?
Yep,
Yeah.
they patrol both ways. But again, it's hit or miss, right? You can be there for 4 days in a row and get 2 speeders, and then all of a sudden you're there and the guy's going 60.
Yeah.
So, but I wholeheartedly
Yeah.
support.
It may help to, if I can say,
Yep,
to move the 40-mile-an-hour zone back to the west a little.
That's
further.
what I was
So-
saying.
So it would get you from 50 down to 40, because that 40 to 35 is quite short.
Yeah, it's short.
You know, it's right there by Hoyt's old,
Right,
where
Yeah.
Hoyt's house was, and it turns to 40.
right.
And then right up, just past Alex's, I think, is where the 35 sign is. So,
that might
So, you know,
actually be a good suggestion.
you know,
right there.
if it's slow, at least get them down to 45.
Yep.
And then slow them down a little farther. Of course, that's all a thing that the state is gonna.
Mhm.
Outbound traffic, Todd pointed out to me that he's driven that many times at cruiser speeds, and I'll just leave it at that. That going
Lights
outbound,
and sirens. Lights and sirens.
yeah, lights and sirens, but to negotiate that curve, 60 miles an hour, you go off road. 45 miles an hour lights and sirens is really quite knuckling it. So, and I believe that because I've driven it many, many, many times. And, the fact that there hasn't been a fatality, I don't know what it says, but it's, maybe it's the cushion.
Well,
But the bottom line is, it is a problem, but I'm short of condemning land and straightening the road and all of that stuff, which is, in my opinion, never gonna happen.
But
That
see,
road's
but
been there
see,
long.
what if, I think it would be justified, well, no, I shouldn't say that, because it's 35 going through town here, so, but when you have a bad curve, they will often lower the speed limit just for that curve. So I would think you could justify going to 25 just for that curve. I don't know if that would change anybody's behavior. Instead of going 50, they might go 35, you know, but I think it's the behavior.
Yeah.
The road is perfectly feasible if you're going 35 under ordinary conditions. The problem is that people are speeding. So I think having a speed study, putting up the sign, doing patrols, whatever we can, it's people's behavior that needs to change, regardless of the possibility of an infrastructure change. Right now, we need the safety of the traveling public, and that requires people to obey the speed limit. That's all we're asking.
The other thing I want to point out to you, and this is only an observation, not scientific, because Verl and I sit out there for the last 30 years on the porch. There are a lot more trucks traversing the road. I don't know why they come that way now, not through Bennington or what have you. More and more larger trucks are coming through on 313. And here's the problem. When you see a logging truck coming the other way, just they use a logging truck, and another truck's coming from the west to east, and they're both unfamiliar with that curve, then you're gonna have
Run that room, yeah.
And also the school bus stops there on that curve. It's a bad situation waiting to get worse, and unfortunately.
My understanding is that you have more trucks using 313 when they're trying to avoid those weight inspections on other roads.
Truckers know how to get around the.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that's what it is.
Yeah, I think moving the speed west, that's step down, will be probably the single most effective. But even back when speed limits were 35 all through town, we changed the speed limit down, not because we wanted people to go 25, but the prevailing speeds at 35 were 45 and 50. So when we went to 25, it brought the speeds down to the 35, which would have been posted. So
But it's not 25.
no, it's 25 through town now.
I thought it was
Not
35.
7 and not 313.
Just right here is
But the
25?
town roads, East Arlington Road.
Oh,
and
yeah,
Homewood,
East Arlington, yeah,
those
yeah.
we changed.
yeah.
And that took a whole ordinance process for us to do that.
Yeah.
But the reason we did it was prevailing speeds needed to be closer to the posted limit than, and I'm sure they give probably 30, I don't know.
Well, it's an enforcement mechanism piece too, you know.
Oh, sure.
For police officers, and I'm only gonna speak in general, for police officers, when someone's, you know, doing, say, 35 and 25, they may ticket that.
Mhm.
Whereas if your speed limit is 35, they may say, well, you have until you're 45 to ticket. And those are
Right.
just general terms.
Yeah.
Every police officer has their own discretion, but,
For sure.
so someone doing 45 through a residential area seems quite fast.
Mhm.
So by bringing those speed limits down, it helps the enforcement mechanism.
For sure. Yeah. But again, it's not our jurisdiction, not our it's the state's sole responsibility to take that from. All we can do is pass the citizens' request along and let them do.
But, and we agree with the citizen. It
agree
isn't just
that-
passing it
that
along.
there's
We
issues.
agree that
He's
there's.
raised
Yeah, I mean, there's
legitimate-
bicyclists, there's walkers, there's all kinds of people at that corner, so.
But I don't want to discourage it, but I don't want him to have false hopes that major things are gonna change.
That's right, but if we have the speed study, we also have the ability to ask for more patrols in that location, so.
Absolutely. We can do that now.
I'll make a motion that the town send an official request for a speed study, engineer study for 313 west in the area of River Road.
Second,
Motion made by Todd and seconded by Cynthia to request the state do an engine, speed study on the road 313 west at the intersection and curve in question. All those in favor, signify by saying
aye.
aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Personnel policy. I'm not sure if there's anything here that we have. Yeah, there it is. Okay. There was a few minor edits. And, yeah. We discussed this at the last meeting. There's a few minor edits, and I think they've all been done correctly. So if anybody would like to make a motion, I will point out this is a personal policy. Policies can be changed at any time at our discretion, but this would codify this one in particular at this date. So I would entertain a motion to approve. And then I'll pass it around for signatures.
I'll make a motion to approve as written.
And it's adopted this 26th day of February 24.
Second,
Motion is made by Todd and seconded by Cynthia to approve the personnel policies dated, adopted 26th February in 2024. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll just pass that along. Okay, next item is, there is a letter of resignation from our. Let's see. See that?
It was emailed to us all.
Oh, it's in your packet for sure. Janet Wheeler's letter of resignation of the auditor.
which we knew was coming.
Yeah.
I knew it was coming.
March 15th.
So I would request that the administrator, we accept her resignation and the administrator send her a letter thanking her for her service and acknowledging the same.
Completely. Do you need a motion on that?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to accept Ms. Peeler's resignation and request that the town administrator Zias write her a letter of thanks.
Motion made by Cynthia and seconded by Glenn to accept Ms. Peeler's letter of resignation and have Nick send forward a letter to her expressing our thanks for her service and regrets that she is resigning. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'd just like to publicly thank Jenna as well. She's
For
put in a lot of
sure,
work.
she has been
Yeah.
instrumental and very
Tremendous.
helpful to the board in the time that she's spent on the board. And I've just found her to be very competent, very professional, and very, very helpful. Okay.
Excuse me, Dan?
Yes,
Quick
sir.
question, with that position, are you gonna be, advertising? Because my understanding, she was a integral
Oh, yes,
portion
for sure.
of the audit being performed
Yes.
and completed.
Yep.
Um,
We have plans to advertise and fill the capacity for financial help for the board. So
thank you.
there is, I guess it's in your packet, a spending request for a radio spending approval from the fire department. Does anyone see that?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Could you just highlight the,
Trying to make it bigger, so.
Yeah.
so you can see it, right?
So there's a request for two Motorola portable radios, 6 remote speaker mic radios, 6 speaker mic radios of a different model, 3 lithium
Thank you,
ion
guys.
batteries, 6 Motorola monitor voice pagers, and 6 batteries for those monitors. The total is $6,014.43. And that is from CVC Paging and CVC two-way radio.
CVC?
Charles Victor Charles. Sorry.
And is this, was this a planned purchase? Is this in the budget, not in the budget?
I know nothing about it. So
I can't say that I know much more.
although I support it, I'm of the thought to table it, in my opinion, till we know more information.
Well, I'd just like to know more about the context. I have no opposition to it.
Right.
It's just that I know that pagers and radios is an issue, so I just like to know, is this replacing existing things? Is this starting a new? I mean, what's going on
assuming
with
it's
it?
replacing aging.
That's what I'm
equipment.
assuming, but we all know about
Well,
assumptions.
I know we do have a contract, currently through CPC. They provide the services for the pagers and things like that. My question is this budgeted?
Yeah.
But, you know,
And
if the
without
firemen need it,
checking,
they
we
need
had
it.
to
I wanna
leave
make sure it's budgeted.
Very settled.
Right, and if it isn't budget and it's still, and it's needed, we can do it. We just need to understand what we're doing.
Sure.
So I would like to request, more information.
I make a motion to table this.
Second,
All right. Motion made by Todd and seconded by Cynthia to table the request for the radio spending approval upon further investigation and, just to make sure the board has a grasp on the total, picture. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Sorry.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Town meeting final planning is the next item on the agenda, and didn't know if there was any other comments other than the already comment that Don Keelan brought to the board about voting the budget. Like I said, we never have done that before, and I don't know how you would vote. The part that's the floor vote that I would see as being a problem is if he's an absentee, he votes. Or anyone votes absentee, and then the floor meeting changes the number. It nullifies that vote.
Well, it would almost have to be that you would vote on the budget and then what would be happening on the floor would be additions or possibly subtractions, you know,
It would
and
be either way.
then if you vote absentee, you don't get to vote on those
Right.
things. I mean,
Then it becomes a provisional.
right, and I don't know how to reconcile that.
How do we handle this normally? I mean, the ballots are already made.
Correct.
So even if it changes on the floor the night before,
The budget is not
Everything
on the
that they
ballot.
can vote on the ballot is.
The
so that
ballot is,
he's-
the budget is only voted at the meeting. The
Yeah.
only things on the ballot are all the appropriations, all the articles. That's what's on the ballot. Everything else is voted at the meeting. So if you don't go to the meeting, you don't get to vote on those things. The ballot, I think the salaries, maybe I'm wrong about
all
that.
that,
a whole
yeah,
bunch
the
of stuff,
salaries.
Everything.
That's not on the ballot.
Right.
And so it's
first
true. If
6
you're
or
not able to
7.
get to the meeting, if you're voting absentee, you don't get to vote on
Mhm.
those things. So I don't know, and
I
I
don't
think,
know how that could change.
and
and
I
be
think
effective.
Dan's right that it's sort of an artifact of the fact that we started out doing everything at town meeting and then it just became unwieldy. So some of the stuff goes to Australian ballot. But, you know, I don't
something we could
know,
ask Nick to look into.
Yeah.
the
Maybe it requires
legalities
a
or
charter
something, you
change, I don't
know.
Well, it could actually require state enabling legislation to change it.
Well, but there are
Because
some
it's-
towns that have
Yeah.
started doing things completely differently, like
Right.
not
They may have
having,
their
not
entire
making
budget on that,
decisions.
yeah.
Exactly,
Any
exactly. So-
town that does a floor vote, I would think would be problematic and a huge number, and it's all the smaller towns.
Yeah.
All the bigger towns, I'm sure they already have remedied the problem long ago, but, I just don't know the answer to the question until we ask him, so. But, yeah, I think he made a point, but I don't see how his point can be resolved.
Oh, we can't do
without
it now.
Creating a different problem.
We can't do it
Oh, no,
now,
no,
but
not
let's,
now, for
you know,
sure,
but
but-
let's
the
let's find
long
out
run, I still
what
don't-
other towns have done and what's the best way, because, you know, it is true that for a lot of people, it's hard to get out there, but it's always been, if you don't get there, you have you know, you gotta show up at the meeting, and that's always been how you do it and how you vote. I had a question, the special budget presentation that you gentlemen are doing, this is Thursday night in the Carlson Theater?
Yes.
Mac from your side.
Mac front, okay,
Mac Front.
okay. Why do I think of Carlson? Sorry, Mac front, and then what time?
7 o'clock.
7.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Just for the rec, it does conflict a little bit with the international culture night. However, this is literally my only free night, so it was like the only night we could do it. And I recognize that some people
So
are.
are people gonna be doing flamenco dancing and things like that
Yeah,
around
there's
this?
a whole thing that happens in the gym for a couple
Right
hours. of
behind
food
us
and
is
stuff,
where
yeah.
presenting, right?
But, and I have received a couple emails, but
It's just, that's it,
Literally.
yeah.
Can do about
You
it.
can break away and come over to our thing and then go back, you know, it's like,
so this was the only night
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
had free, and I think Dan had free that
yeah,
you
yeah.
could
That
make this work.
coincides,
No,
yeah.
it is what it is, and, you know, and it's an extra presentation for people, and I think it's a really good idea, because there'll be more chances to ask questions and discuss that
Yeah.
are not really possible at the
Right.
meeting, so. We'll find out, it'll be interesting to see whether people come and what the level of interest is. But I thank you very much for doing that.
No problem.
So we go second, is that correct? The
Uh,
school goes first?
I don't remember, whatever. they
You
tell
have to
me-
show up
Whatever they
anyway.
tell me,
no
we're
matter-
gonna do first.
We went
we
first, so the school
last
goes
year, so
first.
We go second.
Okay,
I think we're schools first.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's the
Okay.
case. All right. And I've been reviewing the slides and I actually got the school's report today, so I can add a little bit of what I got a preview, so thank you. All right, highways. I know our road foreman is here. Do you have any updates or anything?
Oh, we did a bunch of work at the park, we're doing some tree work, brush work. Hoping that this 60-degree weather and then 20-degree weather and then 50-degree weather doesn't make roads fall apart. And the only other thing I had was to talk about equipment changes, but with what Steve brought up with possibly not being eligible to use ARPA funds, I guess we might as well wait until we find out what we have for
Yeah, let's.
funds
let
to
us
be able
explore
to
that.
discuss that
So,
in further
as
detail.
far as that discussion goes, I would suggest that we
Yeah.
at least table it or just do it. Take it up after we've got the correct answers.
And it makes sense too, to wait until we voted the budget, we voted the sinking funds, we know where we are
I just,
starting the next
you know,
year.
I just wanted to get your opinion on, or let you guys decide which direction you wanted to head in, so that I could be,
Mhm.
you know, looking or whatever, so.
In terms of trucks or excavators or,
Excavator, backhoe possible, but it all depends on what we end up with for funds, so.
Yep.
That'll make a crucial change, so.
Okay.
Till we know what we have for
Yeah,
money
let's-
to
Let's
spend,
get the,
then
not
we'll-
get the cart before the
we'll-
horse, and we'll get that
Right,
question
we'll
answered
we'll
first.
work on that when we know better on what we have for
Yes.
money to spend.
Just a reminder, you put those use of the ARPA funds in the budget, so if the budget passes next Monday night,
Mhm.
then that's what your hands are, gonna be, that's what you're telling the townspeople, what you're using the money for. Which,
well, I don't know that, I mean, those were, what were they? They were
The budget-
allocated or authorized? I mean, they weren't committed in the sense that we placed an order. I
Right,
think
they
you've got a
haven't
good
been
point.
funded.
But there's always gonna be times when you're gonna shift things around, one project moves forward, one project moves back, but I think it's something that we should point out, at the meeting, that there might be some fluidity in that.
And there always is, because the budget is the budget.
It's a plan.
That's how we
Mhm.
plan for what we may be doing. And then it never works out the same, and in recent years, it's actually coming under budget. The actual spending is coming under budget, so,
But this
while
is
the budget
significant.
number allocates certain
Well, yeah, they're
things,
just designated
it doesn't
amounts at this
necessarily
point.
mean we have to spend it there, we find
Okay.
there's some other reason.
But he's got a point that we
Oh,
should
yeah.
mention it, because
We
we
should,
lay out,
for
this is
sure.
what we're gonna do, and it may not be what we're gonna do. And so we have to say, well, but those, I felt that even at this point, those things might have moved around depending on how things,
Yep.
move
Really, what
forward.
the taxpayers approve is the overall budget.
Right,
It's up to the boards then.
move things
You,
around,
you want to stay within reason of what you're presenting.
except
But if
on the
you do-
sinking funds,
If
those
you
have
do
to be.
if you do change things, you want to be 100%
Yeah.
transparent,
Yeah.
advertise.
it's sort of like the line item for the treasurer, the budget you have for next year is 40 grand. Even though the actual was like 23 and change.
Mhm.
And I know the reason why, but people some people may think, oh,
You
the
have to spend
individual
40,
is
right.
going
You don't
from
have to
23.
spend the total line item.
Right,
I think people are gonna say, oh my God, that position's now gonna pay 40 grand for, 3 days worth of work. People are gonna say, sign me up.
I
Not
think
knowing
that, I think that
this
would
is-
be something what we should explain.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, if Article 7 is voted in, then we have monies to potentially, and that could be for the treasurer and. or
That's
the
exactly
auditor.
the answer.
Oh, I know, yeah, because it was explained here. I remember the discussion. But I think people, as they read it, are gonna say, holy cow. So, yeah.
Okay, so we'll table the equipment planning, discussion, and I myself would like to see, we have the timelines in the capital
Mhm.
plan, the sinking funds, and how that links up to the equipment we have and which ones we wanna,
Mhm.
how we wanna change that portfolio, your portfolio of equipment, which is what you're, asking about. And I'd really like to have some sort of written document because, I think that would help to get our mind around it and, plan for the future. And could I just, report on the, water department?
Yeah.
So Burr Snow and I and Glenn Sherman are probably gonna meet Wednesday afternoon. And, we are gonna go over all the different projects that, we have in mind, some of them very well developed, some of them not. And I've created a list of all the things that we need to be working on. We will not have these things for those projects, but at least we know what we're aiming for. And we will need Nick's help in fleshing it out. But I think it makes sense to really try to push that forward as much as possible for the obvious practical reason of needed repairs, and also the question of the needed investment and the account balance and all that kind of stuff.
Thank you. We do have an executive session, but I think we will, go through the orders, and the town administrator is not here, but the town administrator report is in the packet. We can review that, and if you have any questions, I may or may not be able to answer them, but you can ask. I would say go ahead and, there is one other item here that I don't, the NEMRIC agreement. This is part of our process for budgeting for the treasurer that was brought up. NEMRIC agrees to provide the following service, town of Arlington, and it's basically a 5-hour, an hourly agreement for 5 hours per month remote services for the following tasks: monthly reconciliations of town of Arlington bank accounts, review of trial balances of all funds for inconsistencies, and discuss and resolve with treasurer, perform spot checks of payments to vendors and receipts to make sure that town is following proper procedure for approval and posting, review journal entries and sign off on them, complete a report to find and work with treasurer and select board. It's basically estimated at 5 hours a month, $145, that's $725 per month. The estimate does not include possible travel time if on-site consulting is needed. The $725 is remote, in other words, over the phone or whatever. Their rate for travel is $72.50 an hour. So, it's just an agreement you would authorize me to sign for the board to accept the agreement with NEMRIC.
And I think that's a quote to replace what Jenna was doing.
Okay. I
Based on
think
what that's how I read
that is exactly what that is, so.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the agreement between Arlington and Cynthia Stoddard of NEMRIC for 5 hours a month remote service at a monthly cost of $145 hourly rate, $725 per month, including travel as needed. As summarized in the agreement presented to the board on this date. Motion to approve, if that's okay.
Just, in your motion, authorize me to sign for you.
Motion to approve authorizing Mr. Harvey to sign for the board.
Is there a second?
I'll second it so we can discuss it. I have
Okay,
some
discussion.
questions.
Do what?
How does it in line with our budget, what we had for Jenna?
It is way under,
Okay.
I believe. But this was part of that transition plan we talked about.
And it may not fully replace Jenna, but it gives
No,
us some
it's-
outside eyes for the time being.
Exactly.
You know,
That's
which is,
exactly what
we
it does.
need to get that in
And
place.
Cynthia, has been working with
Yes,
Jenna and
yes.
the treasurer.
She's
so
familiar with
She's
us.
not an unfamiliar face.
That's right.
And not unfamiliar with our books.
Yes.
Is it a month by month agreement or is it like a 6 month?
Monthly.
That's my next question.
Okay, just wanna,
It's monthly agreement. I would assume for up to a year.
I don't feel as if it's specified as clearly as it might be.
isn't specified
There's no
clearly.
date on the, I mean, there's a date on which you sign it, but there's
Date
no
signed.
date on the agreement.
It certainly wouldn't go beyond the budget.
Which is beneficial for us, because that means we can end it at any point.
There you go.
Right, right. And, she will perform these tasks and others may be required after town meeting, we don't know. We just don't know where
I
that's
hope
going.
so too.
Is there any reason to wait until after town meeting to firm this up, or do you feel comfortable going ahead? with
No,
it?
I feel comfortable. I just want to make sure, like, I asked them these questions, so it's out there for the world to
Right.
hear
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
I've already looked to make sure it's in our budget, but
Yeah,
I know I anticipate questions.
Yeah.
So
okay, so I made a motion.
I second.
All those, sorry, motion made by Cynthia and seconded by Todd to approve the agreement with Nemrick for, hourly services up to 5 hours a month, and mileage. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Right.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, and what is today?
26.
26. 26. All right. Where that is, all right. So if there's no questions for the town administrator report, I will move on to the warrants and orders unless there's any other business to be brought before the board. Just want this one thing.
The only thing I would, just really, it's just an announcement, Willie, I and Nick met with the Arlington Rec Park Committee the other day. They have approved, equipment and stuff through the donation that was received, for the park. That's all set, and, Willie's working with the vendor to get that ordered. Remainder will go toward the playground installation. That's all been approved as well. Just letting everybody know.
Okay, there is a packet on the table. I don't know if this packet is in your board packets. But there is an award letter that I noticed came in this week from FEMA, Vermont Department of Public Safety. It's a grant award for federal funding to the state, I believe, of which we may be able to avail ourselves a portion of a $961,045 grant under their, it's an award letter, and it's from, Stephanie Smith, Vermont Department of Public Safety. From, under the letterhead of FEMA, U.S. Department of Homeland Security. So if anybody's interested, I would suggest you take a look at that. Okay, I guess unless there's no other business to be brought before the board, I guess we're ready for the warrants and orders.
I make a motion to approve check warrant report number WD4 dated 2/23/24, being the unpaid invoices for the water department. Key components are Blue Cross Blue Shield, Green Mountain Power, fuel, and propane, other sorts of payments. I make a motion to approve the amount of $5,750.18 for the Arlington Water Department.
Excuse me, 5,000.
$5,750.18.
Second.
Motion's made by Cynthia and seconded by Todd to approve check warrant report WD4 in a total amount of $5,750.18. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, I don't understand that.
This is the burden portion and retirement portion of payrolls. So, I believe all we do need to do is sign it. I don't think this is one that we have to make a motion on because it falls under payroll.
Okay, but why is there a difference between the total that's handwritten and the total of the warrant? Is it, because I
These
don't,
numbers,
they don't add up to the same number. So what is that?
maybe Janet. Janet, can you answer that?
Tiffany does that. That's the retirement amounts, and these are required by the state that we have to pay. So you don't even vote it. It's just to let you know and you sign that you've seen it. But it's out of our hands. These are amounts that have to be paid and
Right,
have been.
Yeah, I get that, but they're not part of the other budget though.
They're nothing to do with my warrant at all. This is strictly retirement payments for employees. And it's all done in the treasurer's office. She writes that all up.
It's just that it has to be in the budget because we're paying it. So it may not come from your warrants, but it's coming as a check warrant report. And I don't understand, there's handwritten numbers and then there's a total up here. And if we don't even really get to vote on it because we have to make those payments, and I know we do, I don't understand why I have a check warrant report if we don't even have to vote on it. So I think this has come up before and
yeah, I think it's quarterly. I believe you've definitely done it before. And I'm not sure how many quarters, but it's been several. I know
Okay,
the
well,
quarterly totals, but I don't have any control over the figures that are on there.
okay,
we're gonna-
so I'm willing to go ahead with this because I know we've done it before and I think Nick has explained it to me before, but I don't find it satisfactory to have the handwritten numbers apparently explaining some component of this, which I don't understand what it's explaining. I don't understand it. Todd, I don't know if you have better understanding of that.
I mean, I know what these are.
I know what
for,
VEMRs
yeah,
are,
yeah.
is, I mean, I totally understand what that is, but I don't understand what I'm supposed to be getting from the handwritten as opposed to the typewritten.
Yeah, I don't know why there are different figures. That I couldn't tell you.
Why is there references to the treasury? I don't understand it.
Are these the quarterly deposits that are required to fund the pension?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's your ETFs numbers.
Yes.
But I know my other positions in acute care, even though I did all the actuary told me every quarter I had to deposit, $7.8 million into the pension plan
Yeah.
to fund. But you're all right, Cynthia. A printed statement number is what you go by. You don't cross things out.
And she's not crossing things out. I think she's trying to explain. There's
Oh, okay.
handwritten stuff that I think is trying to explain something, but it's not adding up to the total of the printing, so I'm not sure.
Correct.
Sorry.
Your total number here doesn't match.
Right,
Not at all, not at all.
You're about,
We need
$500
further
off.
explanation.
right, and I'm willing, I think,
Yeah.
Steve is absolutely right. We'll go by the printed number.
Yeah.
But I think what I would like to do is to make a note
Get a detailed
to
explanation.
get a better explanation from the treasurer and from Nick, because they probably explained it before and I've forgotten it, and I apologize for that. Okay, so I make a motion to approve check warrant report PRW02 dated 2/26/24 in the amount of $16,470.04, being the mandated contributions to requirements,
Is that even?
retirement systems. 4 cents,
470 even.
470 and 4 cents, being the mandated contributions to retirement systems.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made by Cynthia and seconded by Todd to approve check warrant report PRW 02 in the total amount of $16,470.04. All those in favor signify by saying
Aye.
aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. General order.
Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, I make a motion to approve check warrant report number 4 dated 2/23/24, being the unpaid invoices for the town of Arlington and the general fund. Key components are salt for 5,700, Blue Cross Blue Shield 7,700, printing of the town report, Green Mountain Power, and such like expenses, some of them regular and some of them unusual. I make a motion to approve payment of the total amount, $44,014.99.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Cynthia and seconded by Glenn to approve check warrant report number 4 in the total amount of $44,014.99. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, is there any other business to be brought before the board? Hearing none, we will have an executive session. I need a motion to determine the reason as a personnel and legal matter.
I make a motion that the select board I make a motion that premature discussion of a personnel and legal issue would cause the municipality to suffer substantial disadvantage.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Cynthia and seconded by Glenn to determine the reason for the executive session as a personnel and legal matter. All those in favor signify by saying
Aye.
aye.
I make a further motion to actually enter into executive session for discussion of said personnel and legal issues. And that's it.
Okay, motion made by Cynthia and seconded by Glenn to enter into executive session to discuss said personnel and legal matters. We are unlikely to make any come out of other than to just adjourn, but there's no decisions. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. We are not recording, correct?
I'll shut it off.
We're not. What's going on?
Gnarly,
Yeah. My hand hurts, just looking at the picture.